In one of the most powerful law firms in America, a quiet janitor worked the night shift, unseen, unheard, and underestimated. But one ordinary night, he stumbled upon a secret that would shake the entire system of power and force him to choose between revenge and redemption. Let's find out how it happened. But before we dive in, comment below where you're watching from, and if you love stories about truth, power, and justice, make sure you're subscribed. Because this story? It's not what you think. The building of Wellington and Crane LLP stood like a monument of glass and pride in downtown Chicago. By day, it pulsed with ambition, lawyers shouting over conference calls, interns sprinting through halls, partners laughing too loudly about bonuses they hadn't earned. But by night, it was silent. That's when Marcus Hill began his shift. He arrived at 9 p.m. sharp every night. A simple man in a navy jumpsuit, gray hair tucked under his cap, a quiet smile that said more than most people's speeches. The guards liked him. The partners ignored him. And Marcus preferred it that way. He pushed his mop bucket down the polished marble corridor, his steps echoing against the cold glass walls. Every reflection showed the same man he'd been for 10 years, tired, steady, invisible. But Marcus hadn't always been invisible. Once, he'd been one of the best investigative journalists in the state. He'd won awards for exposing corruption, until his final story cost him everything. The law firm he worked in now? They were the ones who buried the truth, silenced witnesses, and destroyed his career. He had lost his job, his home, his wife. And when no one would hire him again, he took the only work left, a janitor. In the very same building where the people who ruined him got richer every day. Fate has a strange sense of humor. It started like any other night. Rain tapped against the windows, thunder rolled in the distance, and Marcus moved from office to office, cleaning up after people who barely remembered he existed. Then he saw it, an open manila folder on a glass table in the boardroom. He almost ignored it. Almost. But something about the name printed on the first page stopped him cold. Senator Raymond Clay. He frowned. The senator was all over the news. Handsome smile, perfect speeches, America's next great leader. Marcus flipped the page. And another. Each one worse than the last. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. Wire transfers worth millions. There was even a note, handwritten in careful script. Keep this quiet until the election is over. RC will cover our legal fund. Raymond Clay. Marcus felt the old fire return, the fire of truth, of exposure, of justice. He knew what this was. Money laundering. Bribery. Corruption on a scale that could topple careers. But the memory of the past stopped him cold. He'd tried this once before, and it had destroyed him. He slid the folder shut, then slowly, carefully, tucked it into his cleaning cart. As he rolled out of the boardroom, the small red light of a hidden security camera blinked in the corner. Someone was watching. The next morning, chaos hit the firm like a wave. Emails flew. Locks were changed. Partners whispered in corners. And in the middle of it all, Marcus just kept sweeping. He saw the security team comb through the building, questioning employees one by one. He overheard fragments. Files gone. Confidential transfer. The senator's team is furious. He kept his head down until he felt a presence beside him. A voice, smooth, confident, sharp. "You're the janitor, right?" Turned. It was Ava Crane, daughter of Richard Crane, the firm's managing partner. A young woman in her late 20s, sharp suit, colder stare. "That's me," Marcus said quietly. "Funny," she said, tilting her head. "You always seem to be around when things go missing." Marcus smiled faintly. "Guess I just take my job seriously." She narrowed her eyes but said nothing more. He could tell she didn't fully believe him. That night, when everyone left, Marcus made copies of the documents. He uploaded photos, encrypted them, and sent one anonymous email to his old editor. Subject: "It's happening again." But by morning, his phone buzzed with a message that froze his blood. "Don't contact me again. They found me." When Marcus opened his locker that evening, he found it smashed open. His uniform shredded. His ID badge snapped in two. Pinned to the door was a note written in block letters. "You should have stayed invisible." He didn't tell anyone. He couldn't. Instead, he started recording everything: whispers in corridors, late-night meetings, security logs. But there was one person who noticed something was wrong. Ava Crane. She'd been raised in wealth and silence, trained to protect her father's empire. But the more she saw, the midnight deliveries, the off-book meetings, the more she began to question it all. When she caught Marcus one night reviewing security footage, she cornered him in the break room. "I knew it," she hissed. "You did take something." "You have no idea what's going on," Marcus said quietly. "Then tell me." He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "I used to be a journalist. Your father's firm killed my story, framed me for libel, took my life apart. I thought if I stayed quiet, they'd forget me. And now I'm done being quiet." She didn't walk away. Instead, she whispered, "Show me." They spent the next hour going through the files together. Every transaction, every false charity, every signed document that tied her father's firm to Senator Clay's campaign slush fund. Ava's world shattered in front of her. "He told me this place stood for justice," she whispered. "Justice doesn't live here anymore," Marcus said. "Only power." There was one file that chilled even Marcus, a memo labeled "Cleansing Operations." Inside were details of journalists, whistleblowers, and investigators who had been neutralized. One name near the bottom made his breath stop. Marcus Hill. Status: discredited. Monitored. He looked at Ava. "They never stopped watching me." Ava could have walked away, pretended she saw nothing, protected her father. But she didn't. For the first time, she saw what this firm really was: a machine built on silence. They made a plan. Ava would secretly send the files to multiple outlets. Marcus would gather evidence proving the firm's link to the senator. They had one night to pull it off. That evening, under the flicker of the emergency lights, they worked silently, copying, scanning, hiding USB drives inside janitorial equipment. Every sound felt like danger. Every footstep in the hallway made their hearts race. Just before dawn, Marcus looked at Ava. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. "Yes, I do," she replied. "For once in my life, I want to be on the right side." By morning, chaos erupted again. The files had been leaked to 3 news outlets. The FBI was already calling. And standing in the lobby, surrounded by reporters, was Richard Crane himself, calm, composed, smiling for cameras. When he spotted Marcus and Ava across the hall, the smile dropped. "You too," he said, voice low with fury. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Told the truth," Marcus said. "You think truth matters?" Crane sneered. "The world runs on perception. And I own it." Then he turned to Ava. "You're my daughter. You destroy your own family for a janitor?" "No," she said, trembling but firm. "I destroy a lie." That's when the alarms blared. Federal agents swarmed the lobby. And Marcus pressed a button on the small recorder in his pocket. The speakers around the firm crackled to life, playing hours of hidden recordings. Bribery, extortion, threats. Everything Richard Crane had ever tried to hide. Lawyers froze. Cameras rolled. And for the first time, Marcus saw fear in the man's eyes. Within hours, the story exploded. Senator Clay's campaign imploded. Wellington and Crane collapsed under federal investigation. Ava testified before Congress. Richard Crane was arrested for obstruction, fraud, and conspiracy. And Marcus? He vanished from public view. He refused interviews, refused to profit. Reporters called him a hero. He didn't see himself as one. Late one evening, Ava found him sitting alone in the now empty lobby, staring at the city lights. "You could have been famous," she said softly. "I already was once," he said. "It didn't save me." "So what now?" "Well, I start over. There's always another truth to tell." Months passed. Ava started a nonprofit to protect whistleblowers. Marcus published articles under a pseudonym exposing corruption across the country. He never signed his name. He didn't need to. One day, Ava received a plain envelope in the mail. Inside was a single note in Marcus's handwriting. "They forgot my name once. Let them forget again. The truth remembers." And tucked inside, a small flash drive. On it, evidence of a new scandal, this time inside the Justice Department. Ava smiled. Marcus was still out there. Still cleaning the mess others made. The janitor who exposed $1 billion secret hadn't disappeared. He'd just gone back to work. Because some people don't fight for fame. They fight for what's right.